Ubisoft are working on a very different type of Assassin's Creed, and that is an exact quote from Ubisoft themselves. Assassin's Creed Codename Hexe was revealed back in September of 2022 alongside several other title releases, which does include Mirage, Codename Red, Codename Invictus, and Codename Jade. But this one stood out because even the reveal trailer is not something Ubisoft normally would push. It's very limited, but it has a much darker and grittier feel to it. So in this video, essentially go through everything that we currently know. And to begin with, it's worth highlighting that Ubisoft are going all in on the Assassin's Creed series. And yes, they have been doing this for quite some time, but it turns out that now they're working on several titles all at the exact same time. And their goal is to have Assassin's Creed Infinity, which is not a game, but instead a hub, which is where players can enjoy different experiences, so that the games themselves that Ubisoft will release after, which does also include Codename Hexe, will all be different experiences which are targeted to different audiences. The first game to actually be part of this hub will be Assassin's Creed Codename Red, and that is scheduled to release sometime 2024-2025. But after that, Assassin's Creed Codename Hexe is scheduled to release at sometime in 2026. So it's still quite some time off, but it's still very interesting to talk about. Now I want to start off by saying that Mark Alexis, who is the vice president and executive producer for the entire Assassin's Creed series, he said that Assassin's Creed Codename Hexe is a new flagship title, one of which will be a very different type of Assassin's Creed game. And we get that already from the reveal trailer itself. It opens up with ominous music and dead leaves floating from rotting trees, which is completely different from the high pace that we saw within the Assassin's Creed Mirage cinematic trailer and the lovely colors and contrast that we saw from the Assassin's Creed Codename Red reveal trailer. Now, in itself, it may only be 30 seconds long, and that doesn't really give us much information, but it's opened up the door for quite a bit of speculation. Alongside rumors and leaks, Bloomberg has suggested that the game will be set in Central Europe during the 16th century. This was a vital time within history because somewhat of a mass hysteria gripped the continent. Over 80,000 people were executed, all for the crime of being in league with the devil. Around 80% of them were women thought to be in cahoots with the devil and filled with lust. And if you're unaware of what was going on during this time, of course, it was the 16th century witch trials. Now, this actually happened during the mid-1400s when there were many accused witches who went on to confess. Now, they confessed normally under torture or a variety of wicked behaviors. And a lot of them also confessed because it would be a much lighter punishment than if they went to trial and were found guilty, which many of them were just because of this mass hysteria, where they would ultimately be burned at the stake or even just hung. And it's believed that this is the time in which Ubisoft are planning to set Assassin's Creed Codename Hexe. Now, just to reiterate, this is all speculation, but it would definitely be an interesting topic which hasn't really been covered, and if you pardon the pun of actually saying which there, it hasn't been covered in hardly any games. Now, throwing my own hat in the ring here, Germany had the highest witchcraft execution rate, so I would go off to say that potentially if this was to be the location, that Germany would be one of the better locations to focus on. Much better than the likes of Ireland, which had the lowest. What's very interesting about all of this is that there were also leaks and rumors before Assassin's Creed Codename Hexe was officially revealed that there was 2 games in development, one being set within Japan and the other one being set within the 16th century based around the witch trials. Now, this was before the reveals, and we know 100% that one is set within Japan, we just don't know about the other one. But because both of these leaks came out the exact same time from the exact same sources, it led people to believe that potentially this is true. Now, regardless of whether or not this is actually true, the 30-second reveal trailer for Assassin's Creed Codename Hexe got more people thinking about it than anything else that was announced, simply because it's something completely different from what people have been wanting or seeing before. Now, for us to go any further talking about Assassin's Creed Hexe, we do need to talk about Ubisoft as a whole, as well as some issues with the Assassin's Creed series. Assassin's Creed, for the longest time up from Assassin's Creed 1 all the way Data Syndicate was a linear narrative open world game. There would always be a set beginning, a set ending. There may be some characters that you can jump between. For example, you had Evie and Jacob Fry, which you can play as both. But the real selling point was the gameplay mechanics alongside with the story. Now that changed with Assassin's Creed Origins, where it turned to this massive open world RPG. And whether or not you were for it or against it, it really doesn't matter, because that was a style that carried on going through Assassin's Creed Origins, Odyssey, and then Valhalla. Now Valhalla, even though it was Ubisoft's most profitable game, being the first Assassin's Creed game to reach $1 billion, it still wasn't highly received. There of course were people that enjoyed it, otherwise it wouldn't be able to make that amount of money, but the real reason that it made that money was because of all the other additional microtransactions that were layered on top. As a whole, Valhalla was average at best. And Ubisoft knew this. That's why they have come out to say that they're breaking down their series. With Valhalla, they tried to be the best of everything. They tried to give an experience for everyone. They wanted to have the best combat, the best parkour, the biggest open world, the longest story, the best grind. But unfortunately, as they tried to do every single one of those components, that led to some contradiction. For example, it could have had the best story, but because they were trying to lead players for it to be a grind for an RPG style of game, it meant that they had to drag out the story. But for those that were looking to grind this game to get the best equipment, they had to keep on dealing with the annoying story, which had branching dialogue, whereas those that wanted to enjoy the story, they couldn't, because they had to sit there and grind before going into the next lot of missions. And it's somewhat become a jack of all trades but a master of none. That's why with Ubisoft and the forward of Assassin's Creed, they're trying to target a specific audience for each game that they release. Assassin's Creed Mirage is going to be those old school long-time fans, those that enjoyed the beginning of the series, linear approach, densely populated areas, parkour, and stealth, with story being anywhere between 15 to 20 hours in length. Assassin's Creed Codename Red is supposed to be the RPG style of game, which is coming back, but it's going to have a very heavy focus on stealth. Well, according to leaks and rumors. And what has been speculated so far for Assassin's Creed Codename Hexe, I would assume that it's going to be this RPG style of game. There's definitely going to be focus on witches, especially within a witch trial, where I assume it's going to be people that have come across pieces of Eden and then all of a sudden used its power, and that's how they've been accused of being a witch, leading to the witch trials. And then with all of this, I reckon there's going to be a heavy focus on combat. And if that is the case, I do hope that they take a very similar style of combat that they did have within Assassin's Creed Valhalla, because I think that was the best part of the game. Even though I wasn't a fan of Assassin's Creed Valhalla as a whole, I can still say that that was probably the best part of it. Now with Assassin's Creed Codename Hexe, it is being developed by Ubisoft Montreal. And of course, linking this all together, they were the team which were behind Assassin's Creed Valhalla, but they were also there from the very beginning 15 years ago when they did bring the Assassin's Creed franchise to life. So if you couldn't tell, I'm very interested to see what happens. We do only have leaks and speculation to go off, and as said, I've thrown my theory into the mix, so let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below. What do you think is going to happen with Assassin's Creed Codename Hexe? It has been advertised as one of the darker types of Assassin's Creed games that Ubisoft are currently working on, and we certainly get that from the reveal trailer itself. So we know it's going to be a dark, gritty style. But ultimately, let me know what you think it could potentially be, as well as if this is something that you would be interested in. An Assassin's Creed which is set during those 16th century witch trials. If you enjoyed this video, then I highly recommend clicking the next video on screen, because Assassin's Creed Codename Hexe is not the only game which is in development. There's several which have already been revealed, but there's leaks to suggest that there's even more. So if you do want to know more about that, then make sure you click that video and I'll be over there to guide you through each and every one.